Adaptations of classic stories are some of society's most popular endeavors in writing and film, and my novels fall into the same category. My obsession with the story of David and Jonathan and then Joseph grew over decades until it just had to spill out on paper. And I enjoyed adding drama and intrigue and all that stuff to flesh out the biblical characters and tie all the familiar plot points together. Now, whether you're interested in writing a classic adaptation yourself or you just love experiencing them, here are a few do's and don'ts I've learned from my own experience and from what I've seen of other efforts in print and on screen. First, try not to assume anything. Unfortunately, not all great stories translate from generation to generation. Even if they did, assuming that your audiences already know the story will make the retelling boring. It's important to give them context. You don't want to overwhelm them with complex details, but don't leave out important points because you think they're understood. Even if people who know the story well are eager for you to remind them why it's important, and there's a whole lot of people out there who've never experienced this, you have the privilege of convincing them it's worth it, so don't rush it. Number two, remember that your job is to be creative. Rather than copying what others have done, approach the story from a different angle, a fresh take. Ask questions. Research what you like and don't like about other attempts and make this one your own. Use creative license with care and skill to present a finished product that tells the story in an appealing, exciting way. But number three, don't hijack the story. Make sure you're learning from it. Especially if you're dealing with a historical figure, be careful not to make the story a manifesto of your own opinions. Ask yourself why this story speaks to you and make yourself a student of it before you write your own version. Number four, be true to the context and the original intent, especially if it's biblical. This goes along with the previous point. Creative license is one thing, but adding irrelevant or opposing worldviews actually compromises the integrity of the story. Make sure you actually want to tell this story, not tear it apart to make it something else. Get to know the characters. Number five, with a retold story, it's easy to make the characters very one-dimensional because they're defined by what happens to them. But remember, these characters are supposed to be real people, and if they aren't real to you, they won't be real to the readers. Once you have the bigger picture of the story, try to zoom in as close as possible to the main character and make sure you understand them as people outside of what happens to them. Get answers to the questions you've always had about them. Experiment with exercises that help you see them from a different angle, like write imaginary journal entries or interview them or switch up the order of events. Most of this won't make it into the final product, but it'll help you to write with more confidence. You need to be an expert on these characters, and that requires hanging out with them. Don't expect the familiarity of a classic story to do all the work. Once you write an adaptation, the story's clarity and the character's depth is your responsibility, and there's nothing quite like it. My name is Jubilee Lipsy, and I hope this was helpful.